All right, special right triangles. Definite need to know, not only for this test, but units to come. You will use it in other units in this class. You will use it in Math 3. You will use it in Advanced Math. And if you're moving on to Calculus, you will use it in Calculus as well. Stop. Okay. 45, 45, 90. All right, that is one of our special right triangles. 45, 45, 90. Okay. What do we know about this triangle? A few things. Anybody?
Special.
It's special. You are correct. It's a right triangle, and I heard it's what? Isosceles. How can you tell it's isosceles? Good job. I heard two angles are the same, and I heard two base angles. Do you agree if these two base angles are congruent, these are the two legs that are congruent?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions? All right. Before I go any further, I want you to recognize that the only way to have a isosceles right triangle is if these two angles are 45. Do you see that? 45, 45 plus 90 is what? 180. 45 plus 45 is 90, and 90 plus 90 is 180. So if I have an isosceles triangle and I tell you it's a right triangle, but I don't give you those measurements, should you know it's a 45, 45? Yeah, because that's the only way for it to be a right triangle and isosceles. Got it? Okay. Now, I'm going to label this side A. And if I label that side A, what would this side over here be called?
B.
Why A? Why could I call them both A? Because it is isosceles. Do you see that? Does that make sense? Okay. This one's easier to prove, so we are going to do this one together. How would I find C? I'm going to write this in pencil because I am going to erase it. How would I find C? What would I write for my formula? I'll start you off. A squared plus
B squared.
Another A squared. But you're right, the formula is A squared plus B squared. But in this case, do you understand why it's A squared plus A squared? Equals, we don't know C, that's what we're trying to find, C squared. All right, because these are like terms, what's 1A squared plus 1A squared? 2A squared. Now, C is what I'm trying to solve for. I know it's funky because there's two variables, but C is what I'm trying to solve for. If I'm trying to solve for C, what am I going to do to both sides? Square root. What happens with the square root and the squared? Cancel out. Good. I'm going to put C on this side. Equals square root of, is 2 prime? Yeah, so there's no breaking down on that one. But A squared is how many A's? 2. And we've done this before. If you have a pair, when it comes out, what will this pair come out as? A or A squared? A. So what does C equal? Write it on your paper. Say it in your head. And now we're ready to say it out loud. What does C equal? A root 2. A because there was a pair and it came out as A, and the root 2 because the root 2 was left over. So like I said, I was going to come back here and erase. So what am I going to put on the C side? A root 2. Cole, we got to see our test already, so remind me later to show you yours. All right.
Wait.
So I'm going to bubble this in. Now, I will tell you this right now. This here, you'll need to have memorized. You need to know it. When you're doing homework tonight, you could have your notes out, but I would just redraw this over and over until you can do it without looking at your notes. I'm going to put it back up. Okay, this. Do you need to know how to do this? Not necessarily. Should you understand it and understand that's where we're getting the A root 2? Yeah, it's not like they just picked these numbers out of the air and said, oh, let's throw it here and throw it there. This is all mathematically sound. It's proven. It's here. C is A root 2. If you were to look up online, special right triangle 45, 45, 90, a picture similar to this which would pop up. A root 2. Or X root 2. Got it? Okay, next one we are going to draw is a 30, 60, 90. That's our other special triangle. Now we use these a lot in advanced math with our unit circles. We use the 45, 45, 90 and the 30, 60, 90. Okay, so I'm going to write up here that this is angle 30 degrees. This angle is 60 degrees. Now this one is a little harder to prove, and I may do it another day, but for today I'm just going to give them to you. Are we ready? Okay. Now this one I think is pretty easy because these match. A root 2. There's two of a kind, A root 2. This one is little more thought process going in. Are you ready? Okay, I will start you off. Do you guys remember the unit where we talked about the smallest side is always opposite the smallest angle? Do you guys remember that? What is the smallest angle here, 90, 60, or 30? 30. So that is our smallest side, and the smallest side will always be called A. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. The smallest side is A, and should you know your smallest side is always opposite the 30? Yes. Yes. All right, what is the biggest side, opposite the 60 or opposite the 90? And we know that because that's the hypotenuse, right? And the hypotenuse will always be double the A. So let's say this A was 5. What would your hypotenuse be?
2A, or 2,
2 times 5 is 10. If this leg here was 7, what would your hypotenuse be? 14. If the hypotenuse was 12, I'm going backwards. If the hypotenuse was 12, what is A? 6. Just 6, right?
Yeah.
6 or 12 divided by 2. Okay, before I go further, does that make sense? We've got it? Okay, so A for the smallest side, 2A for the largest side. And the side opposite the 60 is always going to be A root 3. Okay. 2 of a kind, A root 2. 3 different numbers, A root 3. It's one way to think of it. Do you guys hear that? 2 of a kind, A root 2. 3 different numbers, A root 3. Do you see that? Okay. Now this, I'm going to bubble this guy in as well. This is another one that I would practice today. Don't wait until the day before the test. Redraw and redraw, and then check it to your notes, check it and compare until you have it mastered, because you will need to have this for the test. I'm going to draw it this way as well, and there's a reason. Now, I just want to make sure that you understand that these triangles can be rotated, translated, flipped around any number of ways. But if it's a 30, 60, 90 or 45, 45, 90, these sides are going to stay the same. Okay, so I flipped this one around. My 30's down here now and my 60's up here. Do you see that? Yes? Okay, so when it's flipped around, you still do the same thing. Which one is your smallest side? Opposite the 60, 30, or 90?
30.
And opposite the 30, if this is the smallest side, what is it? A or 2A?
A.
A. Hypotenuse is the biggest, so it is
2A.
2A. And opposite the 60 is always A root 3. Okay, now I always have kids like, wait a minute, this base is A root 3 and this base is A. That's because the triangle's been rotated. Do you see that?
I see that.
Okay, so just remember, hypotenuse is always 2A, smallest side opposite the 30 is always A, and opposite the 60 is always A root 3. Are we good?
Yep.
All right, let's try some examples. Find the missing sides. Number 1. All right. I have not given you enough information yet, but I just want to give you a chance to draw the picture. What special triangle is this? 45, 45, 90 or 30, 60, 90?
45, 45.
Okay, you can see them right there, right? 45, 45, 90. All right, while you're drawing this, if you're not done yet, continue. I'm going to quickly write steps. That's going to help you every single time you get to one of these problems. You ready?
No.
Ready?
Now I can wait for you.
Okay, step 1, label all sides. Please stop the talking, gentlemen. We're going to label all sides using our A root 2. Or if it's 30, 60, 90, the A root 3, 2A. All right, that's step 1. Step 2, solve for A. There will always be one side where you're able to find A. Sometimes it's flat out given to you. Sometimes you have to do some solving. All right, and step 3, find missing sides. Okay, now I'll give you some hints and suggestions that when I work them out, things that I find help. I always label the hypotenuse first. So let's come up here and recognize. If it's a 45, 45, 90, what's the hypotenuse? A root 2. And if it's a 30, 60, 90, what's the hypotenuse? 2A or A2. But 2A, regardless of how it's drawn, correct? Hypotenuse is 2A. Okay, so where is my hypotenuse? Tell me when I'm pointing to it. Is this the hypotenuse? Yes, because it's opposite the right angle. All right, so since it's 45, 45, what do I label on the hypotenuse? A root 2. And I'm going to pause there. I'm going to erase mine only because I just now realized I didn't give you your information. Okay, this side is X, this side is 23, and this side is Y. X, 23, and Y. And then we're going to go through these steps. Okay, so this is what the picture will be looking like on homework today, on your class assignment. It's going to look like this. And then you're going to go through these steps. Okay, so let's go through our steps again. This is the hypotenuse. I'm going to put an equal here next to the Y. And what did I erase earlier? It's what? A root 2. Okay, if this is the hypotenuse, that means these two are the legs. Do you agree?
Yep.
The legs sprout out from the 90 degrees. What do we know about the legs in a 45, 45, 90? They're always what? Congruent, equal, right? Because it's an isosceles triangle. So this is A, and this is A. Good. Okay, so we just completed step 1, label all sides. Do you guys see that? Step 2, solve for A. And I said it earlier, sometimes they'll just give it to you, sometimes you have some work to do. Is this one flat out given to us as a gift? Here it is. What is A?
23.
All right, so we've gone through step 2. Step 3, find all missing sides. Okay, where's X? X is labeled as A. So if A is 23, what is X? 23. You're done with part X. Y, what is Y labeled as? Whatever A is times root 2. Well, what's A?
23.
So it's 23 root 2, and you're done with the problem. Okay? And it's really not, it's just you have to get your brain to read your picture when it's been rotated and so forth. Okay, we're ready? Number, not always. Number 2. Okay, all of the angles on today's worksheet are going to be special, either 30, 60, 90 or 45, 45, 90. Now, all I gave you is the 90 on this one, as far as angles go. Is that enough?
Yes.
Why? Good. He said because you see these two markings. What does that mean about these two markings? What kind of triangle is this? Congruent, isosceles, which means the base angles are both what in this case? 45, 45, because this angle is 90. If it's a right triangle and it's isosceles, these have to be 45, 45. Do the work in your head really quick. What's 45 plus 45?
90.
And what's 90 plus this right angle?
180.
180. Did it work? Okay, you can't put 90 with a 30 and a 30 because it's not going to add up to 180. Or 90 with a 50 and a 50. The only way to get it to be 180 is if these two are 45. Got it? Okay. All right. I'm down here, I'm just going to put X because there is no Y. X equals blank, and I'm going to label this as 32. And I keep forgetting to put your given information. That will be given to you. Given, and we're looking for X. All right, so again, what's step 1? Okay, I like to start with the hypotenuse. This is a 45, 45. So is the hypotenuse a root 2 or 2a? A root 2. And the legs are what?
32.
The legs are a. And so what is a in this case?
32.
Okay, so if a is 32, they didn't ask for this side. They could have, but they did not. What is the hypotenuse, which is a times root 2?
32.
32 root 2, and you're done with that problem. Not too bad. Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
every side that's diagonal from the 90 is a root 2?
If it's a 45, 45, 90. If it was a 30, 60, 90, what will it be?
2a.
Perfect. Got it?
Every time?
Every time. Okay, so let's go ahead and do one now. Here's the 30. Here's the 60. And we're going to look for x equals and y equals. And let me give you the numbers and letters in just a second. For now, get your triangle, 30, 60, 90. We're looking for x and for y. X is here, y is here, and this is 9. All right, step 1, label. I said it, yes.
It goes given.
What was that?
The given.
What about the given?
It's not what gives it.
Oh, I did this time. It's right here. Yeah, I forgot on the others, but I made sure to write it this time. So x, y, and 9. Okay, which side do I like to label first? I said it earlier. Hypotenuse. So opposite the 90 is this side here. And since it's a 30, 60, 90, is it a root 2 or 2a? 2a. All right. The next one I like to label is the a, because it's easy. A is always opposite the what? 30. So is a the 9 or the x? The 9. Which means opposite the 60 is left to be what? A root 2 or a root 3? Because there's 3 different sides, a root 3. Okay. Now, step 2, solve for a. Sometimes it'll be given, sometimes you have to solve. Was it given as a gift again?
Yes.
Right here, what is a?
9.
9. So I'm left to find x and y. Let's start with x. X is whatever a is times root 3.
9 root 3.
Good job, 9 root 3. And y is 2 times whatever a is.
16.
18. 2 times 9. Okay. Any questions? All right. I'm going to take a step back and go over vocabulary really quick one more time. Does everybody agree that 9 is opposite the 30?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. This one has a special name. This is a hypotenuse. This also has a special name. This is the adjacent as when I'm sitting at angle 30. Do you agree that that would be opposite and this would be adjacent? What does adjacent mean? Next to. Do you see that? Opposite. This would be called adjacent. We're going to deal with that in the next lesson. Why would I not call this one adjacent since they're both next to? Because this one already has a special name. I'm going to repeat the question. Did everybody hear that? Gentlemen, need you listening. Stop. This is opposite. This is adjacent. I asked what is adjacent, and Aaron said it's next to. Why would I not call this one adjacent if it's next to? This one has already a special name. Hypotenuse. Hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent, when I'm sitting at angle 30. What if I was sitting at angle 60? What would be its opposite side? X. What would be its adjacent side? The 9, the A. How do I know that's adjacent and not this side over here? Because this has a special name of hypotenuse. All right. Questions on this one before I move on? Okay, I'm going to do one more. Number 4. And I can tell some people are still writing, so I'm going to leave this here. On number 4, I'm going to have you draw 30, 60, 90 like this. But do not label any of the sides. Just draw your 30, 60, 90 upright like this without labeling any sides. Okay. There it is there. And I'm going to label this side as X, this side as Y, and the hypotenuse is 36. This is X equals blank, Y equals blank. All right, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to go through and label all the sides. Which side do I like to start with? Hypotenuse. So start there. Again, it's a good idea to have your notes out when you're doing your work today and eventually try to memorize it.
What does it say at the top?
30 degrees.
And the next
60. Yeah. Okay, if this is the hypotenuse and it's 30, 60, 90, A root 2 or 2A?
2A.
2A. What is the next side I'd like to label for the 30, 60, 90? The smallest side, A, which is always opposite the, is Y opposite or is X opposite? Y, X has a special name that's called adjacent. Okay, so this is opposite, this is A. And X, which is opposite the 60, is what? A root 2 or A root 3? 3 different numbers, A root 3. Okay. Are we good? What was step 2 again? Solve for A. Now, look through. Which one am I going to use? The X, the Y, or the 36?
36.
Now, was it a free gift, or do you have to do just a little extra work on this one? A little, and some of you can probably do it in your head, but I do want you to write it down. 36 equals 2A. How do I solve for A? Divide by 2, divide by 2, and A equals 13? Nope. 18. Okay. A equals 18. Does that mean X and Y are 18?
No.
Are either one of these 18? Let's look. Well, let's start with X. What is X? X is whatever A is times root 3. So what is X?
18 divided root 3.
Root 3. And Y is 18. So this one of them was 18, the Y. Okay, questions on that one? Okay, last one, and then we're going to start doing some homework problems together. Okay. It's like a puzzle.
Someone else good at drawing.
Okay, what kind of special triangle are we dealing with here? 30, 60, 90 or 45, 45? Can you see the numbers there? 45, 45, 90. Okay, let's label. I'm going to let you label first. What side do we typically label first?
Opposite.
opposite the 90. So you're labeling your hypotenuse for your 45, 45, 90. If you don't know what that is, look at your notes. Anybody tell me what it is for the 45, 45, 90? A root 2. Now, some kids will say, like, I know it's a root, is it root 2 or root 3? Some kids struggle there. How do we know it's 8 root 2? Remember the little trick I gave you? Because these two sides are the same, it's a root 2. All right, what do we know about the legs? Both the legs are what? A. They are congruent. Okay. Now, was this a free gift or is there some work to do? Work. So let's glance around. Where is the work at? The x, the y, or the 23 root 2?
23 root 2.
Right here is the work. So let me write that down over here. 23 root 2 equals a root 2. A is what I'm trying to solve for. What do I divide both sides by if I'm trying to get a? Because that's step 2, solve for a. What do I divide both sides by?
Root 2.
To get a by itself. She said root 2. The root 2's cancel out here. Oh, what happens on this side? Does it also cancel out? Yeah, that doesn't always happen, but it's nice when it does. So what does a equal? 23. So are we ready now to find x and y?
23.
23 for which one?
Both.
Are they both? Let's see, x is a, so that's 23, and y is also a, so that is 23. These up here are not both 18 because the a was not on both the x and the y. But for the 45, 45, 90, it's a and a. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right, any questions? Okay, if you will take your packets out and open up to worksheet 2, worksheet 7-2.